I just nailed. I just nailed that guy on the tower.
Yeah, I see it.
That wall exploding is exactly why people are interested in this. And this is Battlefield 3 Project Reality. Project Reality was a modification for Battlefield 2 way back in the day that aimed to create a more realistic modern shooter that was focused on team play and focused on creating tense team play scenarios. Project Reality is ultimately the basis for why we have hardcore realistic shooters today. Games like Hell Let Loose, games like Squad, Postscriptum, and many other titles ultimately wouldn't have existed if this genre didn't start coming around. Squad in particular is effectively a spiritual successor to Project Reality on the Unreal Engine. And now we finally have it, Project Reality running on Battlefield 3, a massive upgrade from Battlefield 2 on the Frostbite engine, featuring destructibility and all of the features that made Battlefield 3 special. Now there are some bonuses of the PR mod because it's running on Venice Unleashed, meaning 100 player servers, higher tick rate servers, VoIP systems, the ability to entirely modify assets within Frostbite and rework them to however you want. Venice Unleashed is the client of which you access the Project Reality mod, and is ultimately the basis for modifications for Battlefield 3, which have only really recently started becoming a thing. So utilizing the abundance of assets available in Battlefield 3, and using the Venice Unleashed platform for modifying things and creating mods, you get the best of both worlds, a modification style system that allows you to play with custom content, whilst also dipping into some of the great systems and assets that Battlefield 3 already has, like destruction, fairly good visuals and audio, and the updated physics and visual fidelity that comes with Frostbite. Things like dynamic weather and day and night cycles are possible modifications, some of which are already being tested and some of which are being displayed already in the Reality mod. Now in this 0.1 version of the game and Battlefield 3's Project Reality, you can find custom spawn systems including FOBs and rally points, an adjusted game pace with both movement speed and weapon handling speed being adjusted, gunplay mechanics being altered such as suppression, recoil and damage, as well as adjusted weapon sounds and explosion sounds. There's also a health and medic system including bleeding, bandaging and reviving, a custom UI interface, the advanced and secure game mode which runs a little bit like Chainlink from vanilla Battlefield for those who remember that in BF4, 5 modified and expanded vanilla maps, 2 custom factions, the USMC and Russians, 9 prefixed weapon kits, including the ability to change attachments, and a few modified vanilla vehicles, which are currently transport only. There's also improved visuals, a day and night cycle, and some weather effects as well. So this is very much early days for this mod, and in version 0.1 plus, they are looking to improve all of the things mentioned above, as well as resource mechanics, custom maps, playable vehicles, armor and air units, more game modes, a commander role, and even a map editor. So lots of really impressive potential features in the future, but a fairly basic, albeit workable starting point. And this ultimately underpins this entire video and my thoughts and impressions today, is that when you try out the Reality mod, which is entirely free, you only need to own a version of Battlefield 3 Premium on Steam or Origin, it kind of is an undertaking of a new release. This isn't something that's going to happen overnight, and it's something that is a very much work in progress. And with that comes the undertakings of any kind of early access or in-development product, and that's your willingness to wait for things to work. For example, this doesn't even feature a resource system for ammunition and supplies to build bases at the moment. It's just a fairly basic we can place up to 3 FOB system. And for those of you who are used to Battlefield 2's Project Reality or Squad, there are lots of features that just aren't in this version of Project Reality yet, because it's a simple version that has been released initially. I would liken this version of Battlefield 3 PR to the version of Squad that I used to play before it even released on Steam. So we're talking kind of pre-alpha days when there were no vehicles and you had to run around on foot, and you could only place rally points. FOBs didn't exist at that time. and things were just being ironed out. This is definitely an early version of the game, but it is free and that's something to bear in mind. And you can pick up Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 3 Premium Edition these days for cheap as pennies in most places. So whilst I don't think many people are going to be initially blown away by this, there is a lot of potential here, especially in terms of a map editor and a more refined experience coming down in the future. What you have to bear in mind here is that whatever they create within this reality mod works within the confines of the Frostbite engine. And that's a good thing, because it means an advanced physics system, and it also means a destruction system, which is something that doesn't exist in any other hardcore shooter as we speak. Games like Hell Let Loose, games like Postscriptum, games like Squad, they've all struggled to introduce destruction in meaningful ways, other than minor ways with deployable assets. So at the moment we're generally working with a more infantry-focused, smaller scale version of what will inevitably be Project Reality. It's a little bit more intense because there isn't as much size as there are as you would expect in a regular PR map or in a squad style map, but it actually kind of lends itself quite well. Whilst I will say that for those of you looking for traditional PR experiences and squad experiences will not be getting that initially and definitely getting an infantry light version of it, it still is an enjoyable experience. The team play mechanics are there. The ability to have tense team play orientated situations is definitely there, but there isn't that sort of sense of depth yet. There isn't that I need to take out this random transport truck or this tank because, you know, it's becoming a problem and it's worth a certain amount of tickets and that is a worthwhile thing for me to do. None of that sort of in-game economy and micromanagement and structure to team play is there yet. You know, the things that make up Squad and Project Reality for what they are is those decision-making processes. And a lot of those decision-making processes of, we're going to put a fob here because we need something here that's going to be capable of using a tow missile to cover certain vehicle gameplay in order to make sure that we can take an objective. Those layers just aren't there yet. At the moment, this is kind of a PR TDM kind of thing going on right now. And whilst the team play is certainly there, and you will be more successful with team play, due to the smaller maps and due to the fact that this is very early doors, this doesn't quite feel like what you'd want it to be. I don't see Battlefield 3 Project Reality taking many people away from games like Squad, Hell Let Loose, and even Project Reality on Battlefield 2, because ultimately those games are fairly completed packages. The only distinct feature we're noticing here is primarily the ability to have a destructible environment, potentially really good graphical lighting adjustments, potentially really good abilities to have day-night cycles and weather cycles, which aren't as prevalent in other titles. So what you get from Project Reality in Battlefield 3 is the ability for, in the future, there to be a super dynamic system. One that can change weather, one that can utilize physics-based assets with destruction, and one that can ultimately be really, really impressive. And again, not only can custom assets eventually be made for the Frostbite engine, but there is a wealth of a AAA title like Battlefield 3 with multiple expansions that you can already dive into and use for resources. Personally at the moment, for me this is one of those situations where I wait and let it simmer. Whilst I am interested in the project, and it's definitely something I'll play for a different flavour of a hardcore shooter, there isn't enough there at the moment to justify any kind of switch. If you're somebody like myself who plays a lot of Squad, this isn't going to change how you feel about Squad, and I don't think it's going to tear you away from the game for an extreme amount of time. It has the potential in the future to do that. And if all of the features and feature sets are really achieved as they want them to be, like I mentioned, custom maps, multiple playable vehicles, more game modes, a commander role and a map editor, then we will be branching into something which is uniquely quite special and will offer all of the feature sets that people expect from Project Reality. It's just a very early start. I've got to say the gameplay felt a little bit shaky, there were things that didn't feel very well refined, and there were things that I just felt needed some shifting early on, like the suppression being insanely crazy, the way some of the bleed out mechanics work, the way the weapon animations and movement system works, which kind of feels like they've just slowed down the value within Frostbite. There are definitely things that need refinement and things that need adjustment. And I guess that's ultimately what this is. This is early access to what will be the future of Project Reality, and ultimately will replace Battlefield 2's version of PR. Now, whilst I did say that this wouldn't take me away from Squad, and that I didn't find the gameplay to be super enjoyable at this point in time, that doesn't mean that this is something that you should completely ignore. This is just something that you should keep an eye on every couple of months. You know, keep looking in their Discord, keep looking at their website, and see the progress that they're achieving. These are modders from the original Project Reality who have in their hands a really capable and really strong engine that is capable of doing lots of things that we want from these hardcore tactical military simulator style shooters. Destruction alone and within itself is something that could be a huge asset for this game, and something that a lot of people are going to look towards as this is why I want to play this. I'm going to leave a link in the description below to their Discord as well as their website, because it's the most optimal ways to stay up to date with this mod. And like I say, I don't really wish any ill on any project that happens to come out within this space. I think all of them deserve attention, and I think it's down to their successes within the future that defines them as a title. And this is definitely something I think is worth paying attention to, even if it isn't necessarily your cup of tea right now. That's about it for this video today. Feel free to drop a like on the video if you enjoyed this, and consider subscribing as well, as we're super close to 100,000 subscribers. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.